It's been hard to determine what's real and what's not when it comes to the Tom Brady news. And it reminds me a little bit of reality TV. It is real, but it is produced. I'm thinking maybe we go a step farther here. The NFL has turned the scouting combine into a TV show. How about a bachelor version of Tom Brady? Now, I know that he's married, but just the premise of Brady giving out roses to coaches. Follow me here. So you don't have women in the house. You have coaches and GMs, and obviously Brady would fit into that starring role because he looks like your bachelor. The contestants would be great. Could you imagine maybe the infighting with John Gruden of the Raiders or Mike Vrabel and the Titans? Maybe that rose ceremony. Imagine Brady letting Bill Belichick go or the Chargers. Maybe I should call Chris Harrison, the host of The Bachelor, see if he could get this going. The ratings would be great. You imagine that? Cameras in there. And then Brady goes out to dinner with the coach or GM. What do they say to him? What do they say when they say goodnight to him? And maybe if you don't get Brady in there, you just get Jimmy G in there because he certainly looks like he could be a bachelor. But either way, we're watching. And we're watching Tom Brady's free agency because it feels like that. If he's handing out roses, it feels like there are 8 possible teams, coaches, GMs who could get a rose. Although Albert Breer was on Rich Eisen's show yesterday. He, of course, the NFL insider, Monday morning quarterback, and he talked about the market for Tom Brady.
I don't know that the market is all that hot. You need a lot of conditions in place to really want to go after him. You need to be willing to blow up your offense. You need to be willing to put yourself on a 2-year timetable. You need to be willing to see in the near future where a rebuild is going to be coming. You need to be willing to put talent around him. I think there's a limited number of teams that are interested. The Patriots are interested in bringing him back. The Titans are interested, but they're also interested in their own quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. And then the Raiders and the Chargers will also kick the tires on it. I know they're investigating the possibility of it.
That's Albert Breer, Monday morning quarterback, courtesy of the Rich Eisen show. And then Tom Brady says, quote, "I don't know what the future holds." I'm guessing he has at least an inkling what it holds. But here's the one date that you need to keep an eye on. If Brady hasn't signed with the Patriots before the start of free agency, now you're looking at a cap hit of $13.5 million. Would the Patriots go into free agency and then try to get Tom Brady to come back, knowing that they're already taking a salary cap hit of $13.5 million? They need to know before the rest of the world knows or gets a chance to squire him away. And I think that that's what's going to happen, because if Brady sets his sights on free agency and he's floating out there, then you get the strong indication that he's saying goodbye to the Patriots. So I'm now packing my own breakfast, because when we were with AT&T, they would pay for our breakfast, but now I'm the boss. So I said, you guys are grown-ass men, why don't you bring in your own breakfast? And so I am showing them the way. So I brought in some hard-boiled eggs. I have some yogurt and granola. I think it's kind of a yogurt parfait, according to my wife, which she did pack this for me. Very sweet of her to do this. And this is what glamour is all about. You want to get into this business and live this life? That's what it's all about. Hard-boiled egg. Now, I haven't really mastered this because I always make a mess. And so I'm just gonna do this, is what I'm gonna do. Yep, this is what my life is all about. You'd think that I would have somebody to do this for me. I'm gonna guess Jim Rome or Colin Cowherd probably have somebody who does this for them, but not here. Where this is a workman's, this is where men go to work. There's no divas, no stars, no nothing. Nothing. Whew. Yeah. Once again, I haven't really mastered it yet. But I'm going to get around to it. Don't you worry. Luka Doncic goes for 30, 17, and 10. You know what happens when you get to that level where we sort of take you for granted? There's nothing Luka does now where you go, did you see Luka last night? Like, he just got here. Trae Young's the same thing. How many times are you saying to yourself, oh, wow, you see what Trae Young did? It's really rare. Like, what could Trae Young do now where you go, man, did you see Trae Young? Same with Luka. Like, he casually got 30, 17, and 10 last night. And also, it's different for him because he's been a professional for about 5 or 6 years. Now, he's 21, but he was playing against men, true men that were 10 years older than him. And he's playing in a tougher environment. He was learning how to be a pro. And that's different for Zion. I mean, Zion's dunking against, guys that have my athleticism in high school. And then you go to Duke, and even then, the competition he had at Duke was not the same as what Luka was playing against in the European League. It's just not. And Doncic came in and was like, and I always thought whenever I saw his highlights, he's just getting the pass away, just barely getting the rebound, just barely getting his shot off. And then I realized that's who he is. Everything about him, it just feels like he's just barely getting by somebody. He's not going to win the dunk contest, but he has this innate ability to be able to find the angles, the openings, and he takes advantage of that. The step back is great. He's going to add to his game. The greats always add to their game. I don't know what he's going to add because he is, he's not going to be a great defender, but he has offensively, I can't remember somebody this well-rounded at this age except for LeBron. And LeBron's nowhere near the shooter that Doncic is. When LeBron came in, remember, he wasn't a great shooter. Didn't want to take that big shot. Doncic's not afraid. Yeah, Paulie.
The only thing Doncic doesn't have is three-point shooting percentage. He's shooting 31% from three, which is, for a volume shooter, that's pretty low. Guys like that are usually 35 and above. But again, he was 20 years old 4 days ago, and he's averaging 28, 10, and 9.
And he's 21. Like, that's what's amazing. Like Jason Tatum, we moved on from Jason Tatum. And
he's an old man now. He just turned 22.
Yes. There's so much talent in there. Ja Morant will move on from Ja Morant after this year. But there's so much talent under the age of 23 in the NBA. It's scary.
3, 2.
Steph Curry reportedly returns tonight against the Raptors. Some fans don't understand why he's coming back. He broke that left hand back on October 30th. And now Golden State has the worst record in the league, currently the number 1 overall pick. But this isn't a great draft. And if you're taking James Wiseman, the kid out of Memphis, LaMelo Ball, if you want him, it was the kid at Georgia.
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, Edwards. Yeah, I mean, and there might be some guys who emerge in this draft, but the way it stands now, this isn't one of those San Antonio Spurs season where you end up getting Tim Duncan or David Robinson. It's a little bit different than that. But I want to give credit to Steph Curry for wanting to play. I mean, that's what you do. You're a professional basketball player. I mean, Michael Jordan broke his foot in the second year, and then he came back. The last 10 games, and people reacted the same way. Why don't you just sit down? Then he scored 63 points on the Celtics in the Boston Garden. That's why you play. He's been sitting for 3.5 months not doing anything. As Ray Ratto, the Bay Area columnist, pointed out, they need to win 23 out of 20 games to make the playoffs. So it's impossible for them to make the playoffs. But still, it'll be fun to see him out there tonight against the Raptors. I don't know if he's on a minutes count, but 25 minutes of Steph Curry is better than no Steph Curry at all. And if you're, Steve Kerr, he probably understands this. I mean, he played with Michael Jordan. You play. Klay Thompson came back onto the court after he blew out his knee just to shoot free throw. Like, this is what players do. You want to be smart? Kevin Durant trying to come back. I know there's always a risk. There's a risk every day of your life of something. This is what they do. This is what they want to do. And I applaud them. I think it's great that Steph wants to come back. But let's be real here. This isn't a knee. It's not an Achilles. It's not a foot. It's his non-shooting hand. I think he'll be okay. I don't think he's going to run down the floor and be favoring his left hand. Is he got hand management? Is he only going to dribble with his right hand? I know he shoots, with his right hand, but man.
I hate this thing.
Congrats on the win last night. I was curious about the defense that you had on Zion. It felt like that Porzingis was always going to be help there, but what was the strategy there?
Well, the number one thing is you got to get back because Zion gets down the floor very quickly, and if he's in space and they throw it up, I mean, he goes up and gets it. If you try to front him, they throw it over your head, and he just gets it and dunks it. So, but we were just trying to stay in front of him, keep a body there, bring help when we could. He's very, very difficult to play because of how quickly he attacks and how dynamically he attacks. But it was his first back-to-back last night, and I thought he played extremely well considering that fact.
Yeah, it is interesting. He looked tired last night. I don't know if you got that sense watching him.
Well, we were hoping that the whole team would feel tired, but they lost the game the night before at home to Minnesota, which was a big game for them, and they came in, obviously very, very motivated last night, and in national TV games there's a different vibe to them because they are longer, timeouts are longer. There's just kind of a different air to the game. And I think Zion probably was a bit tired. I didn't talk to him. I didn't ask him. But I do know that, in overtime at the end, they threw the ball to him and he just, he blew to the rim and laid it in quick twice, and he didn't look very tired on those two plays.
Talking to Rick Carlisle, the Mavs head coach. When did you realize that you were turning the team over to Luka? On the floor.
Pretty early. The first year, it was just a matter of when the structure of the team could be adjusted to do that. It was clear to me the first time I saw him play a pickup game at our place in September of 2018 that he was legitimately a point guard. Even though he's 6'7.5" and big, strong, and all that, we the New York trade helped facilitate that, and then there were a couple moves last summer that helped structure the team so that we had some depth at point guard and some shooting around him, and along with some toughness and length.
How do you add, and you were around Bird, so great players always add something every year, but let's just say offensively, what would you want Luka to work on at the ripe old age of 21 for next year?
For me, he just needs to keep refining his game. I mean, his game is very, very special. What he can do with the ball, with his ball skills, and being able to step back and accelerate and decelerate and, step back, keep his dribble, and then go by somebody. It's just freaky, and so, the things that go along with that, the finishing, the threes, all those kinds of things. He's going to continue to refine his ability to make the proper reads, et cetera. And I think all great young players, as they go from their first to second to third to fourth year, realize that continuing to work on their body and just every year, doing things to, help your durability, help your, ability to stay on the floor. You're going to have games like last night where you unexpectedly go to overtime and you're all of a sudden you're playing 45 minutes or 40 minutes instead of 35, and you've got to be able to absorb that. We're so lucky. I mean, Doncic comes in the league last year. You got Morant and Williamson this year, and there's a lot of other great young players. It's just a really, really exciting time in the NBA.
And they're all if I got a team, I wanted to have my team, and they're under 23 years of age, and I'll give you the rest of the league. Like, you can have an under 23 and put together an unbelievable team, and that would be unheard of a decade ago, 2 decades ago.
Yeah, you're right. And, but these things are cyclical. We don't get this wave of generational talent, every year, every other year, every 2 years in a row like this very often. And so it's just it's been a special period for the injection of talent, and it's not only talent. I mean, let's face it, you're talking about major charisma. I mean, these guys. I mean, Luka Doncic and Zion and Morant. I mean, these guys are, they're not just great basketball players. These guys are like movie stars. With the personality they have on the floor and how they command the attention on social media and those kinds of things. It's really quite an amazing time.
35 years ago this week, you know what happened?
35 years ago this week.
Yep.
It's March of 20. It was 85. I don't know. Go ahead.
Bird scored 60 against the Hawks in New Orleans.
Hey, you should have seen what we were doing the night before. If you would have seen our group that night in New Orleans, you wouldn't have thought that 60 points out of anybody was going to be possible.
How bad did it get on Bourbon Street with you guys?
I don't know if it was bad. It's just, this is one of the legendary things about, Larry Bird. I mean, he just, and I remember that game so well. University of New Orleans, the Atlanta bench, every time he throw in another howitzer haymaker shot. There was one that was a step back 3 where he made the shot, but then they disallowed the basket, and all those guys, were falling sideways, and almost a couple of them were falling on the floor. It was just, it was something else. And the other thing about it was that, in the previous 8 to 10 days, I don't remember the exact time.
McHale set the record, right?
Yeah, McHale had set the record at 56, I think, against Detroit. And in that game, Bird was the guy that went out of his way to keep feeding Kevin, over and over and over again. And I remember after that game, I think Kevin said, "Hey, look, this is fine. This is nice, but Larry's gonna break this. It's just a matter of when."
It's
and so
temporary. Yeah.
Yeah, and so 10 days later in New Orleans of all places, Larry just. It was.
Do you think he did it on purpose, Rick? That McHale got the record and then Bird saw an opportunity where, you know what, might as well do it tonight?
I don't know. I'd be really speculating there. It's really interesting. We played a game my rookie year. I think it was in Utah or something like that, and we got way ahead. It was the height of this, Larry's greatness, and the team was spectacular. And Utah was an up and coming team. They had some talented guys, et cetera. Well, we got up. Larry hit a shot to put us up, 28 or something with a minute to go in the third quarter. So Casey Jones calls my name to go in the game, and I go in for Larry. And I don't remember his exact stats. I just know that he had over 30 points, 12 or 14 rebounds, 10 or 11 assists, and 9 steals. Okay, so he was one steal away from a quadruple double, and I remember being in the locker room after the game, and one of the writers asked him, "Hey Larry, did you have any interest in going back in there and getting that steal to get a quadruple double?" And this relates to your question about the 60 points, and this is one reason I just never felt that stats were the thing for him. He said, when you're a younger player, and you're trying to make your way in the league, this is a very honest answer. He goes, sometimes things like that are, important to you. He goes, but once you get your contract, and then you realize that, the real respect comes from, how many championships you get, stuff like that just doesn't matter to me anymore.
Tom Brady, Steph Curry. Lucas in Virginia joins us. Hey, Luke.
What's going on, Dan?
Hey, Luke.
I'm a huge Titans fan, and on the flip side, I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. But my theory on the Titans and Patriots is it's a bad move for Tennessee, because if Brady's going to stay 2 years, does that mean Super Bowl or bust in 2 years? And then we're going for another quarterback in 2 years, and we're using all of our draft resources on another quarterback again?
I don't think it's a bad deal, a bad situation for the Titans, because you went to the AFC title game and you have something there. And thanks for the phone call, Lucas. If I'm the Titans, yes, I want Tom Brady. Don't worry about 2 rings, get 1 ring. Like, just worry about this upcoming season, because it doesn't matter after that. If you would win the Super Bowl with Brady, then who cares what happens the following year? But if Brady can get you there sooner than Ryan Tannehill can. Yes, he.
Doesn't the Bachelor do like those intimate dates where like they get one-on-one time?
Yeah.
If they go behind a closed door.
The fantasy suite.
Oh, the fantasy suite.
Yeah.
That's like they have the tape room.
Yeah.
And that's where Brady and the coach just go into the tape room, and all you hear is the door is closed, but the mics are still hot. Oh, I like what you're doing here with this package.
That looks so good.
Cover 2. Cover 2.
Oh, nice package.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The running back is a wild. Yeah, I like it.
Oh, the Wildcat. Oh,
that's hot. That's
so
hot.
Yeah.
I just really feel a connection with you right now.
Throw it in the flat. Throw it in the flat.
I don't know that I've ever felt before.
Oh, I love your check down.
That's a hot read.
Oh, that is.
Green 19.
Oh, audible.
And then he has to tell the next coach, be like, I'm sorry, but I was with Belichick last night in the fantasy suite.
What?
You said that we had something special.
No, then you'd be out like in some other random part of the house. Like there'd be a secret place you could go, and then Vrabel's waiting in the film room for Tom.
Did I say you watching tape with Mike Vrabel?
Then all of a sudden he sees the light flicker of the old-time projector where they're watching game film, and then Vrabel then walks out. He's like, Tom, how could you? Yes, McLevin.
There's always one eccentric cast member, like a weirdo, and we clearly got that one. The Vegas Raiders coach, John Gruden, would be amazing on that show. There's always one guy who's a little different.
Well, you always have to have the crazy girl.
Yeah, that's Gruden.
Yeah,
Gruden's going to be walking around the house yelling, Spider Y banana.
This guy. McLevin, what did you learn today?
I learned that Rick Carlisle says Jay Billis flies private.
Paulie, what did you learn today?
Larry Bird scoring 60 after getting banged up in New Orleans is even more impressive.
I know. He used to hang out with Buckner and Rick Roby, and they were called the Beer Brothers. Like the Blues Brothers, they were the Beers Brothers, I believe. Not the most creative. Seton, what'd you learn today?
The quadruple nada is a thing now.
What we learned brought to you by True Car. Go to True Car to get an upfront price from a dealer online. Search from over 1 million pre-owned vehicles for the new True Car. Buy smarter, drive happier. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you tomorrow here on The Dan Patrick Show.